Everyone loves the Adagietto from Gustav Mahler's Fifth Symphony, and I want to know why this piece is so obsessed over. It's frequently used in film and television such as Death in Venice and most recently Maestro, as well as being played in countless memorial concerts and funerals. It's also an unsolved mystery whether this piece is indeed a love letter to his wife or a tragic piece about death. It was certainly a window into the rather bizarre marriage between Gustav and Alma Mahler, which strangely left a lasting effect on how we understand Mahler's music even to this day. I decided to have a closer look at all of this myself, and I think I now have more questions than I did before. We're going to cover all of this later in the video, but I want to first start with the music itself. I'm going to highlight 3 points of genius that stick out to me the most that I think make this Adagietto such a timeless masterpiece. This video is made as part of my creative residency at the Elbphilharmonie Concert Hall in Hamburg, Germany, where Gustav Mahler lived between 1891 and 1897. While I've been spending time in the city, my attention has been drawn to Mahler's works due to the city's direct connection to his compositions. Mahler's symphonies and vocal works are frequently programmed at the Elbphilharmonie, and I've gotten to understand his music on a deeper level after each listen. Number 1. The sound of holding back. Mahler sustains tension in the music in a way that portrays the complex feelings of self-restraint. He does this with a lot of delayed resolutions. And in simple terms, it's really about holding back from resolving something, maybe even holding back from wanting to say something completely. Right in the beginning, it takes a very long time for a key to be established. This is essentially what Mahler is doing. But instead of just going from one chord to the next, he will add a little bit of resistance before fully resolving that chord. Instead of just going, he will add in. There are also a lot of passing tones, such as this C sharp here. When these notes meet, there's a very unique chord that happens. Now let's listen to the orchestral version. Here, you feel like you should resolve right away to a C major chord, but he doesn't really give this to you. And he just goes on to bring back that first motive. There's a lot of lingering in the anticipation of getting somewhere. Instead of just straightforwardly going from point A to B, Mahler makes you wait. Number 2, carrying the sound of the human voice. The melody in this piece lends itself so well to be sung by a human voice, and I think this is what makes this music sound so personal. The melody is simple yet very elegant and beautiful. What's also unique is how all of this is being timed. There's almost this natural rubato built in, so this natural flexibility in the pacing of these phrases. If you take a look at this line, there's also so much balance, and this is very important amongst any song. You know, there's a rise and fall. It doesn't keep rising. He finds the appropriate time to curl back downwards. And then he rises again. Overall, this movement really reminds me of Italian opera because of the very delicate strumming of the harp and the very singable lines. This is an aria by the Italian opera composer Giuseppe Verdi. Compare this with the orchestration of the Adagietto. It also bears a strong resemblance to Wagner's opera Tristan und Isolde. Mahler's career heavily consisted of conducting operas, and his works reflect his natural connection to the voice. Many of his symphonies feature prominent vocal parts, and although his Fifth Symphony is all instrumental, the Adagietto almost fulfills that role. Parts like this, it really sounds like the human voice, where someone is longing for something. This is kind of like how a human voice would sigh. Also, this type of figure is very characteristic of this time period, which is bridging the gap between Romanticism and the 20th century. For example, this comes from Scriabin's Sonata No. 4, written around the same time. There are very similar gestures of this pain and longing and this romanticism. There's something to be said about having a melody that is as easy and simple to be sung by anyone, but presenting it for strings with this beautiful orchestration and adding a lot of complex harmonies and layering underneath to make it into something that is so sublime. Number 3, a lot of room for interpretation. I think something very genius about this piece is how there is so much room for multiple types of interpretation. You can really color this piece in so many ways, and I think this is an indication that this piece can be not only timeless, but it has room to carry a variety of emotions. The music is both still while unfolding gradually and surging forward with moments of passion. There is both warmth and lightness with the soaring melodies and delicate solo harp, but also moments of darkness and turmoil. The harmonic direction is both simple and almost obvious, but it's also unpredictable and very unclear at times. The whole symphony does not have a programmatic element to it, meaning that there's no clear storyline, no formal information about what this piece is about. That being said, according to Alma Mahler, this Adagietto was supposedly a love letter sent to her in a sort of cryptic manner. Now here's where things get really interesting, because there's also controversy surrounding whether or not Alma Mahler is spreading misinformation left and right, or if there is some truth to what she is saying. Some suggest that she was a problematic and manipulative character that falsified a lot of records to distort her late husband's legacy in order to glorify her own self-image. Others emphasize that she may have been mistreated and a victim of misogyny within the marriage. The mixed information all seems quite messy, to be honest, and that's why historians refer to this as the Alma problem. Now it's really tricky because it's quite hard to tell what is true or not. Next, we must talk about how the Adagietto is often separated from the rest of the symphony. Since becoming a massively popular piece, it's constantly being featured as a standalone movement. This strips the music from its original context. The Adagietto within the context of the whole symphony is a unique moment of contrast to the other sections that have themes rooted in death, chaos, and euphoria. When the Adagietto is performed alone, there seems to be a natural tendency to heighten the melodrama in the music, especially since this piece has now become the almost go-to symbol for not only Mahler's legacy, but to represent love and/or tragedy. The result of all of this is that the piece probably holds some sort of record for having the widest range of interpretation. Since this piece has been written, conductors have performed the movement in as short as 7 minutes, all the way to 18 minutes. This is a huge difference not only in terms of tempo, but more importantly, in emotion. At a faster tempo, I think this music portrays more feelings of warm embrace and desire, whereas at a slower tempo, I think it sounds much more somber, tragic, and introspective.
The Adagietto of Mahler is the single most famous piece of music he ever wrote. It's well known. It has been dramatically misunderstood. It's often played at funerals very, very slowly. And if you play it very slowly, it becomes about death.
Now, of course, tempo is a very fluid and subjective thing, but it's worth noting that there may be some evidence that suggests that although Mahler marked his Adagietto with sehr langsam, which means very slowly, he may have preferred a more swifter tempo. Mahler conducted the Fifth Symphony himself in St. Petersburg in 1907, and historians were able to find a marking in one of the double bass player's scores that labeled the Adagietto with a timing of 7 minutes. Additionally, Dutch conductor Willem Mengelberg, who was a close collaborator and friend of Gustav Mahler, was the first to record the Adagietto in 1926. His recording was 7 minutes 58 seconds. There's so much more to talk about regarding the Adagietto and Mahler, both in terms of history and the music itself, but one thing is for certain, this piece is truly exceptional. There are many reasons why it's so timeless and loved, and I hope these insights were helpful to you and will encourage you to listen a little more carefully the next time around. Thank you again to the Elbphilharmonie, to my patrons on Patreon, and for you all for watching and subscribing. I'll see you in the next video.